That sounds good.
Okay, welcome to the Let's Talk About It podcast. It's me, Harrison, and Giancarlo. Scott's moving today, so it's just the two of us. Um, it's kind of at a good time. We wanted to touch back. We talked about our draft. Now we want to touch back on like the first few weeks of fantasy. Tomorrow's the last day of week 3 of fantasy, so we're gonna kind of just talk about everything that's happened in basketball and like our personal fantasy league weeks 1 through 3. Um, did you win last week?
I did.
Yeah,
I think. No,
I
no.
think,
I
or
lost.
oh, you did
I
lose. Yeah,
I won the first week 5-4, and I
that's right.
lost. I think I lost 3-6.
That's
Honestly.
right. Okay, yeah. So you won the first week. You lost second week. You're currently winning 6-3 this week. I won the first week. I won the second week, and I'm currently winning 6-3 this week. Um, any just first? Oh wait, first before we get started, just go ahead and take a minute and talk to us about the Steph Curry performance.
Oh man, it's been awesome. Like one of the best things was when I was at home, back home, and so like I got to watch with like my brother and my dad, and
Mhm.
it was just awesome because it was like a throwback Steph Curry game where like, last year was he was hurt and it was weird, and so it's felt like so long, and then for him to just like erupt and just
Yeah,
like he's making the crazy shots, and it's just like we're going nuts, and like if there was a crowd would be going nuts, and
yeah,
he when he gets into those zones where like as soon as he lets it go, you just think it's in, like no matter what. It's like the best because it's so exciting and he's going nuts and Draymond's going nuts. It's just like so fun. So I
yeah.
loved it. It was awesome.
It was definitely something that Golden State fans needed to see after the start of the year. The start of the season you guys had this year, and then just obviously everything that was last year because it was just, one thing after the other up until or up to the Clay news too before the season started. It's just been this very compact, like just sadness, pain theme, And erupt is a really good word for that because it was kind of like he was putting up good numbers, especially if we're talking fantasy, decent, but everyone's like, okay, we need to see like Steph hasn't had a Steph moment yet.
Yeah.
And then he went for what, 63,
Yeah, or
62, 63.
62, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was great too because like as we are watching it was kind of like getting pretty late in the fourth, and I think he hit like 50, and then they were saying like his career high was like 54 or something. So we're like, all right, like get a career high, like,
Hmm.
and then he got that, and then my brother's like, I want 60, and I was like, okay, like let's calm down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he's gonna hit 60, and then he definitely wanted it because he put up a couple threes that were like, I
Mm.
mean, I know he's feeling it, and so he can do whatever he wants. But I was like, I mean, ridiculous on the like difficulty meter, and then just cashed it, of course, and then was
Hmm.
was loving it. So he got it. He got 60.
What is that? Um, how do you feel just going down like the rest, thinking about the rest of the season? What does that performance like say to you? Does it encourage you? Do you think, okay, we're winning like 10 more games than I originally slotted in our mind? Like, is that going to empower the rest of the team that's also kind of been struggling?
Yeah, it's a good question because those first couple games I was like, we suck.
They were
Like
rough.
we are
Yeah.
bad. The shooting is I think still bad. Like
Hmm.
I mean Oubre is obviously struggling like a ton. I don't
Hmm.
think that will continue. Like it's hard to be like he's literally making nothing. Like
Yeah.
nothing. He's probably single digit. I think he's like 5 threes on the season, honestly. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy.
there was some stat, I forget exactly what it was, but like I think last week on Twitter they're like Kelly Oubre hit his first three and it was like one for it was like a lot. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
was like, oh wow, I didn't realize he hadn't like hit anything. And then I watched one game where he hit his second one, I think. And the commentators were like going crazy and like,
Yeah.
he can't keep missing. It's like 2 for 28 or whatever, um,
Yeah.
over
I
like
mean,
a few games. So
yeah, but I think that Steph game was kind of like I think they were trying to play like they used to play, with like everyone's good, and so we like have this offense and we have these principles and we do these because everyone's good and Clay
Mm-hmm.
and KD and then all this stuff. But I think they kind of realize like they're not that team. And so it kind of has to be like Steph doing Steph stuff. And then like hopefully Wiggins, he had a pretty good game last night and he
Mm-hmm.
made a big shot at the end at least. So like I think they kind of are seeing that this shift needs to happen. The team isn't as good. The shooting's not quite there yet. They're still figuring out the bench. So I think that game was a little like Steph is capable. I mean, I don't think he's like carrying a lot right now. It's like multiple 30-point games on top of like the 60 and so like I don't think he's going to be able to do that every game, but it did make me a little it definitely made me think about the season better because I was looking, I was like, we suck. There's no
Yeah.
way we're making the playoffs. And now it's at least like we could fight for a playoff spot, which is fun because that means Steph just gets to go crazy. And honestly, that's all I'm fine with that being the season because that's all we have. So
Mm-hmm. And the rest of the league is just so strong. I think, like you said, kind of be nice just to be in the playoffs and just fight with whoever you get matched with, just knowing that it just was going to be a tough road to hoe anyway with especially in the Western Conference, but just in general, there's so many teams that are just playing or just stacked. Actually, there's some teams that are stacked and not playing very well so far, but they're still a really good team. And then there was the Clippers game last night.
mhm.
That was
that
nuts.
that was probably the most encouraging to me because like in the mid third quarter, I think they were down double digits, and I was like, all right, this isn't going to happen. Like Clippers
Yeah.
are good. I don't see the path to victory this game. And then it was like Steph got hot at the end of the third, and then they played solid with like basically the second rotation at the beginning of the fourth, and then boom, they won.
It was
So I
both a
feel
vintage Clippers performance and a vintage Warriors performance.
100% exactly right. So apologies to the Clippers fans out there, but I
Yeah,
was
that's
loving it.
tough. I they how many I don't know how many times they're gonna do that in like a year's time of just like blowing big leads in the third quarter because that's like the theme for them going all
Mm-hmm.
the way back to the bubble, last year. Um, but yeah, I wasn't fully watching that game because we were playing games, and David was like updating me in Discord because he wasn't playing, he was watching it, and then he just kept putting like, "Oh, we're coming back," and I thought he was like trolling because I,
Yeah.
like you said, I tuned in the same point you did. It was like 86 to like 66 or something, or like 89
Mm-hmm.
to 66, and I was like, okay, seems bad. Like I see Kawhi out there, I see Paul
Mm-hmm.
George out there, not sitting either of them. And then he just kept putting it. And so I was like, okay. And then I finally peeked in. I was like, oh my God, okay, it's 11. And then it was like 6. And then it was 4. And then we're still like playing. And then he joined our call and he was like, we're up by 3. Like, what? What happened? Like, and then, yeah, I saw a screenshot of like, I think it was the exact score that I mentioned. It was like 89-66. And then, or no, it was like, yeah, like 84, 66, whatever. And then it was like 89 to like 85.
Mm-hmm.
And like the Clippers score just had not even changed. And in that
Mm-hmm.
time, the Warriors had scored like 17, 20 is ridiculous.
Dang.
So yeah, I don't know. Um, but encouraging for you for sure. And I don't think Oubre will play as badly as he has, and I think they're finding better ways to integrate Wiseman into
Mm-hmm.
the offense too.
That's the other thing. I've been stoked on Wiseman because I mean I don't really watch college. So like I don't, and
Mhm.
he didn't even
Yeah.
play college really. So like I mean I don't really know a ton about any of these guys that come out, but when those first couple games, like he can legit shoot threes. Like
Yeah.
they to me they're good shots, and like he has like a little mid-range game with his shots. So I was like, I didn't know this dude could shoot at all. So like
Yeah.
I think he's been pretty great. The
And then
defense,
he's
I
out.
think, is okay. They talk
Yeah.
about it as if he's like really good on defense, and I don't fully see that yet, but he's massive. Like I didn't
Wh-
realize how
Yeah.
like big he is.
Yeah.
So
And he's out there running the floor, getting a couple dunks too. Like he did that at a few preseason games. And I think on the Christmas game, he got a pass and like took one dribble and just
yeah.
slammed it. And I was like, okay, this is what Warriors could look like when Draymond comes back, yada yada. So yeah, I think that's definitely um looking good. And then yeah, as long as Draymond can stay on the floor, I don't know. David's excited. That's all. he he says 73 win season. But no, he's excited. And it was funny too, because he told me he was like, oh, we're gonna beat the Clippers before the game started, because he's like, we always win the second game so far.
Mm,
Because you
mhm,
know how they were doing all those back-to-backs with the COVID season,
mhm.
because you guys got
That's
slapped
true.
by the Blazers,
Hmm.
but then the next time you guys played, that was the Curry 63, 62 point game. And then I think you like lost to the Kings or something in the second matchup. You beat the Kings. So he was right. Um, so I mean that's encouraging. And then for me, the Bulls, I've actually been watching some Bulls games and they've been actually getting some wins. They barely lost to the Lakers, and LeBron got
Hmm.
like 17 fouls calls. Like I don't know, like they had the rookie guarding him a lot, and they'd pass to him. And he just take two dribbles, and he just kind of goes slow, and he would
Hmm.
not get hit on the arm, but just like by going slow, swinging his arms, got like a little contact. They call it. He doesn't even make the attempted like flip up
Hmm.
once he gets the whistle. Then he just made a bunch of free throws, and I think they only lost by like two or three. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited. Kobe's been playing really well after looking like really shaky
Hmm.
in
Levine
preseason.
Levine had a good game yesterday, I think, in that Lakers game.
Yeah, no, I guess he started like 100% in the first half.
Hmm.
He was
Hmm.
like 18 points or something, 3 for 3 for 3, like 4 for 4, 2 for 2 for free throws, and then he hit all of his field goal attempts too. So, um, both are on my team. But yeah, so it's been encouraging too for the Bulls games. So now for fantasy, just to start, I want to, because the last thing we talked about, I have to come and say I was totally wrong. Jaylen Brown was not an overpay with the way that he's been playing.
Dude.
Um, he got him for $24, and this is a Celtics fan who got him. And I mean, obviously there's someone else I was bidding, I don't remember who, to get it up to that price. But at the time, I was like, man, that was a lot, because I don't know. Like I know he's good, and he's the top two. Even with Kemba out, like obviously Kemba being out, Hayward being gone, that helps his production and in his time. But I still feel like it's obviously Jason Tatum's team, and sometimes just for like a fantasy stat line, Jaylen Brown could be like, I don't know, whatever.
Hmm.
But I've been wrong so far. And but yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's an overpay. That seems like a lot. Even Yahoo had him at $8, which I think is probably wrong anyway.
Yeah.
But still, just looking at like the projection and my personal evaluation, and then seeing him go for three times that seemed like a lot. But so far, he's been balling. He had like a 42-point game. He pulled a scary Terry, and
Yeah,
um,
there's been because I have Tatum, and there's been a couple times where I look at the Celtics box score, and like the double digits will like jump out at you, right? It's like whatever, 30 something points and like
mhm,
double digit rebounds. And I'm like, I get excited because I'm like, Tatum? And then it's Brown, and I'm like, damn it. Like
mhm,
there's been at least a few games where he's just like right there with Tatum.
mhm.
And like, if Brown went for 20 something and then I paid 40 something for Tatum, it's like, are they $20 different in performance? Like, I don't think so. I think Jaylen Brown gets more double doubles too. So like,
Yeah, true.
um, I mean, I've been happy with Tatum, but like, I think yeah, Brown's been playing amazing.
Yeah, so I was definitely wrong about that. And ever since we recorded, I was like, I'm gonna have to own up to that, because I've just been seeing his scores. I'm playing the team that has Jaylen Brown this week. And I don't know if I think he had a good game. Um, but I was just like, man, that I was wrong. So I guess I want to ask you, I just had like two questions. Who's been the biggest downer for you on your team, and who's been like the biggest bright spot for you on your team?
Downer has been Gallinari for me because dude has
Right.
not really. I think he played maybe one game,
And then he
and
got
it's
hurt.
yeah, and that's just like I mean I knew Porzingis was hurt coming in, and I knew Jaren Jackson was hurt coming in, so like I was okay with that. But then like Gallo not playing, I'm just like it's killing me because I can't. I have no more injured spots left to put him, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
do I drop him?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do I just hang on? Like, I don't even know what he's gonna do when he
Mm-hmm.
comes back because I mean the Hawks have so many guys. So I'm like, what is your value? I have no way of judging like if you're worth it or not. So that's killing me right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's been a bummer. But the who I've been happiest with, kind of like multiple guys, to be honest. Like I've been
Your team's
super
good.
I really like my team, even though last week was disappointing. But
Yeah.
Marcus Smart does a lot of things for me, and like surprisingly makes threes, which I get really happy about. And then
Mm-hmm.
Brogdon has been crushing it, and
Man.
that's been my favorite thing because I kind of thought of my team as like a big three with Tatum, Kawhi, and
Beal.
Beal. And then so I was like, okay, if those guys should be solid. But then Brogdon is kind of like a fourth in that now. And so that
Oh yeah, he's been right
has
there
been
with them.
surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, he's been right there with them in terms of production for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, those two I think have been pleasant surprise. The other guys I knew would be solid, like Beal and Tatum and Kawhi.
Right.
But yeah, those two have been good.
Rest in peace to Bradley Beal for just putting it out on the floor every single night and still catching an L because I feel for you, my guy.
Brutal. And especially like coming into the season, people were like, oh, Wizards, like they might be, like a 5 seed, maybe a 6 seed, and then they just like can't win. And it's like Russ has good stat lines and Beal has good stat lines. Like, I mean, I haven't watched any of their games to really
Okay, I
like
was gonna ask
see what's
you.
going on, but from what I've heard, it's their defense.
I was
They
gonna say it
can't,
has to be defense.
yeah.
Yeah. They don't they know how to score and they have multiple guys because I even think Thomas Bryant's been having a good year so
Yeah.
far once he came back from his injury or whatever because he missed like the first few games. But all of those guys have been filling it up. I mean, I think like Beal's gone like over 40 like every game and had like 260 or like 160 and 150 point game. And yet they've all been for naught. They've all been for losses. And like Westbrook did Westbrook things. First 5 games of the season, I think, had triple doubles back to back to back to back. And I think they only won one of those games of the 5 times he had a triple double in the first 5 games. So I don't I don't know. I just feel for the guy
Yeah.
because and he's probably not gonna be an all-star this year again, even though I feel like he should have been one last year because the record's gonna be bad and then that's gonna take a knock and the East is stronger now because of KD and Kyrie and yeah, and more people that are already in last year that probably will come back. So I just want to see him win something. I mean, the fact that he didn't play in the bubble, which I get because what's the point,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a contract year for him going into it. I just want to see him be able to make the playoffs. It's the same thing with Kemba. Kemba's finally in the playoffs now, though, because he jumped to the Celtics and Beal decided to stay. And arguably his team's still fine since they just can't win.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's kind of a situation where like they're not seems like they're not really a good real team, but like fantasy
yeah.
wise, they're like
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, they put up numbers. I think they scored in like the 140s or something yesterday, or maybe 130s in a loss. So like I mean, it might have been
Let
overtime. I can't remember. But
me see.
fantasy wise,
Yeah, I mean, you have Beal, so you're happy. The thing with you is I'm not actually with all the injuries. I actually thought you were going to win last week to be honest, but I just know like next maybe in a few weeks, but next month your team is going to like take a huge leap and it's just
that's
going to start walloping people.
that's what I'm hoping for because yeah, with Porzingis and Jaren Jackson Jr. But the kind of when we talked last time, we were talking about how my team has a lot of injury risk, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of feeling that right now with
Yeah.
those
Well,
guys. Gallinari hurt, and then today I get the update that Tatum is like
yep.
has COVID or is something,
Going through protocols. Yeah.
and so they say he's going to miss 2 weeks, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, like I mean, I basically I'm gonna have a rough next 2 weeks because I can't replace Tatum's production like at all. So
Yeah.
it's gonna be brutal. But hopefully after that, I don't know.
You had the Dinwiddie injury too.
Yeah, the Dinwiddie,
That was tough.
yeah, that sucked. I kind of already forgot about that one because it was so early.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I was wary about Gallinari more because I didn't think he was just gonna get hurt at the beginning of the season, but I just didn't know where he was gonna fit because it came out that he's for sure coming off the bench. Like he's fine with coming off the bench, which could actually be a good thing because I'm gonna
Mhm,
talk about one of my biggest regrets in the draft. Um, but also like I was like, there's just so many guys on that team. There's actually a ton of forwards. I
mhm,
was luckily able to pick up DeAndre Hunter in our league, and he's been like balling, like got 2 triple doubles in the last 2 weeks, and like been shooting threes and filling it up.
mhm,
Um, some of that is the benefit from Gallo being out, but they're just so deep in a lot of spots. I didn't know like if he was gonna nightly produce.
mhm.
Um,
Well, and even like what's his name, like Bogdanovich, like he hasn't really been doing a lot. Like that was
yeah,
a big signing for them and probably has more real basketball value than like fantasy basketball, but he's been kind
yeah.
of like thought he would probably play more or do more. So
It's been weird. I mean, there's just a lot of guys because I even saw something like John Collins came out and like not for fantasy but for real basketball said like I need more touches, I need more
hmm,
minutes, which is he's supposed to be one of the premier guys. They're supposed to be like, oh, Trey and John Collins,
hmm,
but they have Capella and he's been playing really well and they've been playing well with Trey. And then also like Cam Reddish has done nothing. Like, and I
hmm,
don't know if I think that's a mixture of like they're so deep and also he's struggling a little bit, but like I picked him up too and for like through like 3-4 games he just like did nothing, got like a couple points, 4 rebounds, and that was he was like a ghost.
hmm.
um and I think it's just because they have so many guys that could score, and like a couple times Herder will have a really good game and then he'll be quiet again. It's just just who is it going to be tonight, I guess. So that makes it tough. um and then yeah, the Dinwiddie thing was tough too. um for me, oh,
Yeah.
Ophelia's here. For me, the the biggest downer is still Rubio, man. Like
Hmm,
it's gonna haunt me because I went through it again today and like looked at the draft pick order, and there are just so many guys before. Like I think I could have made one decent play before Rubio for the money, and then after Rubio, so many guys came through that like were severely less than what I paid for Rubio that have just been going crazy. That I would have bid for too, but obviously once I spent $10, I think I just had like nothing left. Um, I saw Jared Allen went for $2. I didn't even realize that. He went for
That
$2 in our draft.
that was dumb. I wish I had him.
I
Like
know.
just he does. I mean, blocks are hard to come by, I think, especially my team. I barely have centers. So like if I just had him, like
Mm-hmm. And he's the lock. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing too. It's like, and I knew he was good. I like watched him all last year. I was like, oh man, this guy could play.
Hmm,
And then when they did the DeAndre signing, I still knew in my heart of hearts, I was like, Jared Allen is the real starter.
hmm,
DeAndre Jordan is the figurehead to make
hmm.
Katie and Kyrie happy. But when you
100%.
get further down the season, they're gonna be like, okay, DeAndre, like when I've come off the bench, or like, we'll start you. You go out there, run around for 7-8 minutes, you pick up a foul. I'm like, okay, sorry, DJ.
Hmm,
Put Jared Allen, and he just runs for like 20 minutes because that guy is obviously younger, super athletic, and just can really play. And then yeah, he had that game the other night against Gobert too, of all
hmm.
people. Um, Made him look like a little kid. And yeah, I saw that and I was like, oh man. But I know for a fact it made me mad because I was like, I should at least throw a bid. But going back and doing the math, I think I just knew that I had no money because I spent $10 on Rubio and then I spent six on Kobe White. So I think like because I think that was coming from 22 when I made that bid, so I think I only had like $6 left. So I probably maybe could have only kicked it to 3, or maybe the Yahoo app didn't even let me bid because, based on the spots I had left, that was my max bid, was probably 2.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and then nobody else jumped on it for whatever reason. Then yeah, Scott got crazy $2 value. Um,
Ugh.
but yeah, he's been the biggest downer. He had like 5 steals and like 8 assists the last game he played, and he's playing today. So that gave me like a little bit of hope.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to hold on to see if when Cat comes back, the production
Yeah.
gets there. But the Timberwolves have been so weird with like the rotations and their minutes given to people that it's not encouraging to me that that Rubio will get that much better. And the team's not as good, so it's harder to get assists when you make good passes, but who you're passing to can't make the shot. So, and then Whiteside too was the downer going on minutes. I already had to drop him because like I even talked to Carl. I was like, "What's going on?" And he's just like, he's not a good fit. And I was like, "So why'd you draft him?" Or like, pick him up off free agency. And he's like, "I don't know, like maybe just trade it to a competing team and get somebody." I'm like, okay. So yeah, he was like getting no minutes at all,
Yeah.
even when they weren't playing Bagley, because it's clear that Walton doesn't trust Bagley down the stretch. Like there's been multiple close
Mm-hmm.
games where he's just sitting on the sidelines watching because
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't think he can do it, but they're still not playing Whiteside. And that was a thing like 2 weeks ago they played the the Nuggets twice. And Carl even texted me, he's like, "Oh, you might get some Whiteside action today, Jokic, like for the matchup."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
No, they just
Nothing.
they didn't play him. They didn't play him at all.
Well,
I was like,
I'm like
I
on the flip side of that because I have Rashawn Holmes, and
yeah,
they seem to like go with him like a lot
yeah.
more.
That
So
was
that's
yeah.
been my benefit of of those two guys.
That was the other thing. I wrote down Rashawn. I wrote 5 names down. 2 of them you own, and Rashawn Holmes went for $4. And I was like, fucking could have just got Rashawn Holmes for $6 instead of fucking Rubio, or tried to at least. I didn't buy Whiteside, so it feels a little bit better because I just basically traded my last 2 picks for Whiteside like early on. But in my other league, I bought Whiteside for $9, and I just had
Mm-hmm.
to sit there for a few days and think like, do I just drop him? Like I'm getting literally nothing from him, and I already have like Boucher. Like I have Boucher in both leagues, who's averaging like almost a block if they actually play him, 1 to 2 blocks. I'm like, I'm basically getting Whiteside's production through Boucher,
Yeah.
because like literally he doesn't even get rebounds. Whiteside doesn't play enough. He'll get like a couple rebounds, no points, give me like 0 for 4 field goal, and
Yeah.
like split his free throws. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is not worth it for 2 blocks. So I dropped him, but that hurt. I was like, well,
Yeah.
that was $9 left on the floor. Um, so those have been my downers, and then my biggest bright spot, I think. Um, I don't know. Well, I think this was not like yours, and that's what this was kind of what I was hoping for. The question was like someone like you didn't expect it to be this good, but I'm still gonna say it's Sabonis,
Mm-hmm.
just because my own personal scouting, like I really wanted Sabonis, and I had him last year, and I watched a ton of Pacers games, and I was like, this guy's it, and like they really like him. They run a ton of the offense through him, and I saw a lot of stuff, and people were saying like, I don't know how his production's gonna be with Oladipo coming back, and like even a lot of Yahoo articles were like, this guy's don't pay for him, like he's overinflated in the market for his projected value, and his projected value wasn't very good. It was like $16-17. I was
Mm-hmm.
getting him every time in a mock draft. Like nobody wanted to go over his projected value in the mocks. And then I think I got him for about that price in our league, and he had like he did the same thing as Westbrook, or not Westbrook, but he had like his first 5 games he had a double double. I think there's only maybe 1 game so far he hasn't. So it feels good to trust someone unlike Rubio and have them pay you back.
That's the guy who I was thinking when I was thinking about your team, who you probably the highest on, because when he had those first few games where like he's looking great and it looks like his team and all this stuff, I was like, damn, like who has Sabonis? And I was like, oh, Harry has Sabonis, of course. So like, and I was just like, I mean, I think like that's a perfect example of like you see a guy, you like him, and then it kind of aligns well because it's the knowledge is that he's like everyone's too high on him. So like don't pay because he's overpriced, right? But like
Mm.
someone's gonna get him. And so like it's gonna be worth and you didn't go crazy and spend like a ton. So like I thought um I was like, yeah, that was a great pickup. You
And
did
he's
you get
shooting
him in
threes
the
this
draft?
year.
Mm,
Like not a ton, but he did not shoot any last year, and I didn't really want him to. Like I saw there's a couple where like you run on a fast break, everyone stops, and he just picks up his dribble and he's at the three and he's like, ah, fuck it. And he
yeah,
shot
yeah.
him. But now they're like actually like kind of having him shoot 1 to 2 threes a game, it seems like, and he's been hitting some. And
Mm,
that's like not for nothing in fantasy when you're already getting like 10 plus rebounds, 17 points and yeah, and double doubles, and now he's shooting some threes. Like
that's
that's
about all you can ask for
that's
right
huge.
there.
Yeah. What was your
Yeah.
question?
No, I was you did you get him in the draft or you traded for him?
I got him
I
in the
couldn't
draft.
you in the draft. Yeah.
Yeah, I was really careful. Honestly, I probably could have disrupted more things in the draft, but I was just like so zeroed in. Like I kept telling myself I have to get Sabonis and I have to get Christian Wood. Those are two people like
Mhm.
non-negotiable. I already told myself mentally like if I have to go to 27 on Christian Wood, I will because I think his projected was like 22 or something. But I was like I'll go $5-8 over the project because I'm just so high on him.
Mhm.
And I feel like Rockets is a good situation with him because he can shoot the three. They need like an actual like functional flex big like he is.
Mhm.
And even arguably if Harden leaves, it's better for his fantasy value. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
I was super high on him. And that's why a couple times I just had to sit back because I had already committed like half my budget because I got LeBron seventh for like $44. And then I got Jokic for 51, like 2 picks later. I was like, okay, I gotta
Mhm.
chill now. I only have 90, 90 some dollars. And I know I want to mentally commit like almost 40 for these two players. I just have to wait for them to come up. I can't get caught on a snag by like bidding for somebody and getting stuck with them. Um, so that's what made me sit back. But yeah, when they both came up a little bit later, I think I just nominated Christian Wood, I think, because I was like, I just need to know. Like I need to
Mhm.
just go and spend my money and know if I have them or not, and then I can play with the rest of my money. And then I waited till someone's I think nominates bonus and I just went for it. Which was a lot later in the draft too. Uh, but yeah, I drafted him. Are you thinking of making any trades, especially in light of some of your injuries?
I don't I'm bad at trades, honestly. Like I don't I'm not good at being I don't think I'm good at judging value of guys that I don't have. Like because I get stuck in my head of like where how I value my guys, but then
Mm,
it like is way out of proportion of what I value other teams' guys. Like I picked up Cameron Payne
mm-hmm,
and like because I needed assists or something, and he like
mm-hmm,
had a couple good games, and then just now, like right before the podcast, like he has like a minor injury or something, and I was like, should I drop him? And I was like, oh, but I love Cameron Payne. I was like, do I really love Cameron Payne? Like, I don't think I do. Like, I need to just drop him because like he's not worth it. And I just get so like attached to like these are my guys.
yeah.
Um, and so it's hard for me to like see them clearly, which I think is my biggest problem in fantasy.
Well, I think I like what you said because the mental attachment, once they're actually on your team and start, even if it's like kind of poop, start bringing you in some sort of numbers, it's hard to let them go. And if you
100%.
notice, I don't know if you were paying attention, but like there are multiple trades that happened in our league, which I was actually surprised and happy about. And all of them, or basically most, if not all of them, happened before the regular season started
Mhm.
because you gotta it's way easier to be like, yeah, I'll go 1 for 1, 2 for 2 for this guy because what has he done for you yet? Nothing, because the
Mhm.
season hasn't started. You preseason, I'll take it with a grain of salt. Taylor Horton Tucker's going off for 30, but he's not gonna get 30 plus 26 minutes in a regular season, yada yada. And then now that like games have actually started, I've had multiple people come to me like, I'm trying to trade, like I can't get anything going or no one will respond. And it's just hard now because real players have started to produce. Now it's like, oh, I can't give up, so and so 10 plus rebounds a game. He's getting, he had this crazy game with 4 blocks. I don't want to trade him now, for even though it's like this guy over there is still good too, but it's just harder now that he's already, like, you're attached to him, he's already in your team. So yeah, now I'm curious to see if there will be any trades. Right now it probably won't happen until maybe mid of the season, where people are like, okay, I definitely need to make this play for an assist guy or like a steals guy or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's one guy though that you wish you had for your team? You kind of touch on some,
Hmm.
I guess, but
I think it's not really a specific guy, but I don't have guys that get double doubles. And that's
mm.
kind of been kind of just sad, I think, because I'm
Because
almost
your team's
like,
so good.
but I'm just like, why don't you guys get double doubles? it like
Why are you doing this to me personally?
in my head, um, I'm like, Kawhi could get double doubles.
Hmm. Has
Like,
he not
how
been?
could he not? Not really. But to
Hmm.
me, it's like if you just ask me, like, will Kawhi get 10 rebounds in like a good chunk of his games? I'd be like, yeah. Like he plays a
Yeah.
lot. He like is always in the mix. Like
Yeah.
if not 10, he'll get close, and then every once in a while I'll get lucky and he'll hit 10 or something. But like I feel like I'm just always in that, like a guy will get 7 or like 8 assists or something like that, where it's like just not quite there. And then on the flip side, I'll see some guys, and it's always big guys, right? Because they'll go
Hmm.
for like 12 and 12 or something.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I mean, that's the value of big guys. They're going to get you like usually pretty decent field goal percentage, and then they'll get you
Hmm.
double doubles
Hmm.
because of all the rebounds. And they don't need 25 points, they just need 10 points.
Yeah.
So I think I barely have centers. Like I picked up PJ Tucker as like a center,
Which
right?
is
Like the
barely a
only like
center, to your point.
seriously. So I think the only like real center I have is like Rashawn Holmes, and then I have Serge, but even he does like non-center type of stuff,
Right.
and he's not. I think he's less of a center now than he was like in OKC days.
Right.
Um, so I just don't have that type of guy, and it's why I lose blocks and rebounds every single week, and that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, my first 2 games of the season, Ben Simmons got 9 rebounds both times. And
Oh,
like it's like frustrating. And he's righted the ship since then, but like it's kind of funny because in my other league, they do turnovers, that's the standard
mhm,
ninth category. And I just asked them, I was like, hey, like, could we maybe do double doubles instead of turnovers? Turnover is kind of like boring and kind of like a frustrating stat to keep track of.
mhm.
And they like thought about it, and ultimately they went with turnover still. And then like somebody's argument was like, well, what if someone just gets 9 rebounds? Like that feels bad. And I'm like, yeah, it feels bad, but I don't know, that's just part of the game. It's the same thing as like, well,
Yeah.
randomly, Bradley Beal has 6 turnovers. What the fuck happened? That feels
Mhm.
bad. And it's gonna happen sometimes because he has the ball so many times, but it's just a variable in the game. And then it happened to me the first 2 games of the first week, and I was like, God. And it's funny too, though. I still wouldn't have it changed because I think double doubles is fun and like definitely inflates value for certain guys. Like you're saying, like Jonas Valanciunas is like the perfect hallmark guy of like,
Yes. Yes.
I will just
Exactly.
get you 12 and 12. I'll probably only take like 8 shots today, and like 3 of them will be dunks, and then 4 of them will be
Mhm.
like spin around easy, like one-handed floaters, and that's my 12. And then I'm just gonna keep hauling down rebounds because I'm playing a big part of this game. And so he's a lot more valuable in our league than in the other league, even though he's just been playing solid uh, in general. But yeah, it's just really funny because I was like watching those Sixers games. I was like watching it. I was like, just grab the rebound, Ben. There's a couple of times where like there's 4 Sixers standing around and bounced up. And like he kind of just stood there and put his hands down, and he let like Tobias Harris fly in and like pull down the rebound. Like, dude, what? And then like during the stretch, because there's a really close game, they're doing the foul thing. And obviously Ben's on one of the blocks, as as the opposing team. So first one on either the left or right side block for the rebound. If they miss the free throw, I'm like, just miss this free throw, just miss this free throw, and then they miss it. I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, and then it bounces to the other block, and like Embiid grabs it.
Oh,
And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna lose it. And there's like 34 seconds left, and I keep checking. I was like, 9 rebounds, 9 rebounds, okay. And then then he didn't do it, and it was maddening. But he's gotten me a few more double doubles since then.
yeah. I was thinking about that because how we have double doubles instead of turnovers, and I was going to ask you why you did that, or like why we were chose that over turnovers. But I
Mhm.
think the point you made, and I've been feeling it without even like really recognizing it, I think is like without having turnovers as a category, I'm kind of like free watching the games, kind of like I have no fear really. Like if my guy has the ball, I'm not like don't
Mhm.
turn it over or don't make like a stupid pass, or or when they do the stupid thing where the guy's in the corner and then they go but then they step on the sideline, and like it's just and like I hate it every single time, and it
Mhm.
happens so much. I don't
It's that
understand,
back step. They
but
swing
those
it to the corner and they like step back to go forward really fast, and they step their
yeah
legs are so fucking long and their shoes are so fucking big. They put their foot behind them and they step on the outline before they take off, and they get whistled every time.
yeah
Yeah. But anyway,
I hate
sorry.
it every single time.
Hmm.
But the benefit of not having turnovers is that stuff doesn't matter. I'm just like, oh damn, like wasted possession or something, but it's not like a hurt. And then the
Hmm.
flip side of it is I was thinking really the only categories that you can get penalized is the percentages, field goal percentage and free throw percentage,
Hmm.
because on a miss, everything else you can only go up, right? Like you can't go down.
Mm.
And turnovers is the only one where like playing your guys could hurt you, right? If you have more guys playing, turnovers can hurt you, field goal percentage could hurt you, and free throw, but everything else, you're only going to benefit from more games. So I was thinking that's the only reason to me why turnovers would be a valuable category. But at the same time, it is kind of fun not having to think about it at all. Like I don't know who has Westbrook, but like you don't have to worry about any of his turnovers. It's just all good except
You
for
can
field
draft
goal.
Bledsoe and not be stressed.
Yeah.
No, but I'm glad you said that, because it's like both points are exactly the reason I chose that. Because the second thing you said, actually, I'll talk about first, is last year. Obviously, I had my league, but I was in another league, my buddy's league. He's actually in our league now, um, and he had a couple guys that like clearly, or he at least, I'll say this, he had one guy who clearly like didn't really follow basketball, and also like didn't play fantasy when I was in the league. Like to put it in concise terms, he drafted Carmelo Anthony when he currently wasn't in the league. And
Okay.
like he also drafted Paul Pierce because he thought he was in the league. And I was like, that guy's been doing shitty analyst work for 3 years. What do you it was like near the end, but everyone was like, uh-oh. And I think he even drafted Steph when Steph was injured or something. It was just a mess. And that guy never
Mhm.
set his lineup. And me and
Mhm.
Scott, because Scott was in the league too, and we just kept talking. I was like, well, I'm gonna crush this guy, except in turnovers, because he never plays anyone. So like my turnovers keep going up because naturally you have ball handlers, yada yada. And then also my field goal percentage usually was worse because like he just whoever he played, even if they just shoot 50% for the night, it just stays locked there. And I keep playing guys and up and down nights,
Mhm.
30% night shooting nights and stuff, and I just keep dragging it down. And yeah, I beat him, but it was frustrating because I was just like, turnovers is so dumb. Like I just got so mad, and I
Mhm.
was like, you can never beat. You're always. It's a category that always benefits the person who's either worse and or doesn't set their lineup, which is frustrating as a player, especially when you're fighting for each little additional category as it gets closer to the end for standings and stuff. So I hated that, and then also I just felt like double doubles are more fun. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it is like it can be frustrating, like we were joking about and saying, when you have a guy end with 9 rebounds or even 9 assists, because it happened to me last week. But at the same time, it feels really, really good when you're like, oh, like he did it. He
That's
got the
true.
10th rebound. You already knew he had 10 points, whatever. And like, that's my guy. And then you feel that extra inherent value for those guys. And it just makes some certain players better.
Right.
I
Right.
went all in. I just drafted double goon squad. That's my team.
You did.
Like
Like Jokic, has he got one every single game? Like I would bet yes.
yeah, like Jokic and
Yeah.
Sabonis, I don't think really have dropped a double yet. And I have Ben Simmons, who, like I said, dropped the first two and hasn't gone every time out, but he's had quite a few games
Mhm.
where like he's not scoring a lot. Like there's a lot of times too where he scares me, where he like has 9 points in the fourth quarter. I was like, Ben, you already have 10 rebounds. You just need like, come on, dog. Like that's the easier one is to
It's like
get
it's never points. It's never the points that you need.
the points are never in question. Like you just fly in, get fouled, and make split your free throws, but you can get to 10, but
Basically
like
once
get
a
to 10.
quarter. All you have to do is make a bucket a quarter. You're basically there.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
then
come on. Yeah.
yeah.
The thing that
Um
I was thinking about with double doubles too is they happen less frequently than I had in my head because
mhm.
sometimes I get frustrated when the conversation or just about like the season in journalists, people will talk about, oh, this guy had like a double double. And it's like, I mean, yeah, but it's not like that impressive, right? Like it is, but like the way Ben Simmons plays, he should get a double double. Like if you're
Agree.
playing a lot of minutes and you are a
Or the
key,
tallest guard on the floor.
yeah, like you should be able to get upper like 8, 9, 10 rebounds. If you're not, then like I don't like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Same thing with like, you
Agree.
know, even Steph will like he's mostly a scorer, but he'll get in the 8, 9, 10 assists range, right? And like the team's not even that good and we don't make shots. So like it's I would sometimes get frustrated because people talk about double doubles as if they're like this amazing thing when like really a 9 rebound game is kind of just as good, right? Than
Mhm.
like a 10 rebound. But having said that, I've kind of changed my mind a little bit because of how infrequently they happen. Like I'll look at box scores and it's just like the double digits on points, but then single digits like all the way across. And I'm like, damn, like really? Like no one on the Celtics had a double double. That seems
Mhm.
crazy to me, but
Mhm.
it's what happened. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad I could change your perspective on double on the the amazingness that is double doubles. It's true though. I mean, like that's the one super influx category too. That's the thing because you could have a good team, but like you said, like your guys just don't get double doubles. They die on their sword with 8 assists or like 9 rebounds, and but then someone else team could just pop off. Because when you look at the league like category box scores, it's always like 6-2 or something. It's not like, and that's for a whole weeks of production. That's like 30-40 games or whatever, and they got 6 guys over the whole week, probably two or three. Probably it's just 2 or 3 guys that have done it multiple times, to be honest,
Exactly.
that got double
Hmm.
doubles, and then someone on the other team got won it. Like one guy got a double double, another guy got a double double. Um, so yeah, I thought so too. I was like, that's not that hard to do because most even like middle of the pack guys can score 10 points a night if they get enough minutes. Um, but just hauling down 10 rebounds yourself, I guess, is because the other thing, yeah, the funny thing is like when you are playing full court and like a bunch of rotations and all kinds of things can happen. The ball can really go anywhere. And now I know we're just going on like but it's true because like, brick shot, like you're right under the rim, has been Simmons 6'10", way bigger than like anybody. And then it bounced over your head, and then
Hmm.
it's like, oh, well, that didn't go to you. That's not going to go to you.
Hmm.
Or just like all kinds of stuff can happen where theoretically 10 rebounds shouldn't be that hard for certain people that are already going to like be a lock for scoring 10 points, but it is seemingly harder than it appears. Um, but yeah, I think the one person, so this ties into my regret and to answer the question of like one guy you wish you had. It's like I should have just drafted Karis LeVert, man. I knew. Yeah, my two biggest regrets are both Nets players. But I knew Karis LeVert is a freaking baller. And I saw him just be so icy and so smooth in the bubble. And then I was still high on him, because he was like a set 15, 17, $19 player last year. Um, but then with Katie and Kyrie coming in, I was like, he's still gonna be good, but there's only one ball, and like how much opportunity is he gonna get? But I didn't know Steve Nash was gonna have him come off the bench leading the second unit, and that alone is what empowers his fantasy stats. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
Kind of the same thing when they did it with Westbrook too, before he went like insane Westbrook, but with Harden and
Mhm.
OKC, it
Mhm.
was just like let this guy cook in the second unit. Defense is a little bit lighter, but also there's less options. Like it's just you do you. Karis LeVert, I think he had 43 last night,
Yeah.
and
Well, and the other piece,
he went
the
for four
Nets,
dollars.
and we kind of, oh, $4,
He
really?
went for four
Oh
dollars in both
gosh.
my leagues. That's what's like driving me insane.
Oh,
Is like I paid $10 for Rubio, who if you added all of his games together, he did not have 40. He doesn't have the amount of
yeah.
points that Karis LeVert scored last night or the night before, or any of other stats. And LeVert went for $4, and with Dinwiddie out, um, it's gonna only make him better too. And it's just it's insane.
Yeah, with the Nets, and we kind of talked about this the first couple games when they looked unbeatable, and obviously that's changed since then. But they're still a good team. Um, they are so deep, and so they just can, like you're saying, him coming off the bench. It's not like he's playing with scrubs, like a second unit scrub team where it's like
Yeah.
he has to force a lot, or the defense can like really help off and like just give more attention than he deserves because the other guys suck. It's not that. It's like they have guys who can play, and so it's more just like he has more space and more ability to like you be the scorer for the second unit. And if you have a game when like Kyrie sat out, the I think it was that game that he went off, that Levert
Yeah.
went off, and then like KD has had the little injuries, so like those guys I should have known like they weren't going to play every game because like Kyrie kind of is up and down and really unpredictable. KD, they were probably going to take it easy because they don't want to
Right.
like just make him play a ton of minutes every single night. So like that's where their depth allows them to do that, and the guy who benefits from that is Levert. So I think you're
Yeah.
you're spot on with that.
I totally missed that math. That's what I'm mad about. Like obviously the price I'm mad and sad about, but I'm more just mad at myself for not seeing that like through line of potential, especially already being high on the guy. Like I was super high on Levert, um, and yeah, I should have just tried to grab him
Yeah.
because because that was the thing too. Like again, last thing about the whole Rubio tangent, but that was the thing about Rubio is in my mind. Like I got all my guys, I was super stoked. Like, and then I was just like, oh God, I don't have a point guard.
Mm.
Like in my mind, at the time I had LeBron. Like right after the draft, I ended up trading LeBron for Ben Simmons. But I didn't have a real point guard at the time, and I was like, oh, man, I really, and I ended up drafting Kobe after I think Rubio. I think. And I knew I was always going to go for him too, but he in my mind, even though the Bulls had said like, oh, we're going to make him be the starting point guard, and he in my mind is still more of like a shooting guard, and he's
Mm-hmm.
still playing like he's handing the ball more. He's not getting a ton of assists. He's shooting his threes and he's scoring. Um, and he's not like a terribly great rebounding point guard. So I was just like, I don't have a real point guard. And I was like, I don't need a crazy one. I just need somebody that can consistently like he doesn't even have to score because I mean look at my team, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I was like, just give me some assists and play well. And so I was like, that's what mentally I was like, I just forced way too hard on Rubio and I got in that battle with the other guy when he bid up to 8 or when he bid up to 9, I should have just walked away. And for whatever reason in my mind at the time, I wasn't like I got taken away a little bit, but in my mind, something told me like he will go to 11. That's all that like
Mm.
I've like
Mm.
happened in my mind. I said he will go to 11, and I'm like I'm kind of okay personally with getting him for 10 for what I think he can do, and then I bid the 10, and he just he just stepped away, and I was like, ah. And then like, and then and then just to this is the last one on my list, but just to know that you got Brogdon at $9 breaks my heart. And I got Rubio for $10 because again, not even saying I would 100% get it just because you got him for 9. Like if we got in the battle, you probably had more money at me at the time. You maybe had to pay for him for 14 or something, whatever. But just knowing that crushes my soul because
Mm.
Brogdon would be the perfect. I mean, at this point, the way that Brogdon's playing, anybody would have loved to have Brogdon, but he would have been so insane for my team because he's such a reliable point guard that to get assists. Like I was hoping Ruby would be, and he's been shooting 3-ball really well, and he's been scoring a lot, and that would have just made my team insane. But instead, I have a guy that I'm thinking I'm going to drop that I paid $10 for. So yeah, it's tough. And like Karras could have been the same thing because he's been doing a little bit of everything. Like he's been scoring a lot, but he's been shooting threes. He's been getting a lot. I think he's been averaging like a steal a game, to be honest with you. Like every game, he's had like 2 steals, and one game he had like 5 steals. And he's even had a couple blocks. Like, he's been doing it all. And yeah, I totally just missed that one. Like just missed that one real bad.
Well, like I can't remember if it was you or maybe it was when I was talking to my brother. Someone said that they had Brogdon last year and he was like crushing it in the beginning and then he got hurt.
That was
And
me.
then yeah, so that's my fear, right? Is like it's great right now, but it could literally drop off a cliff.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen to you because yeah, like I think that's what it was. Like I actually like Brogdon a lot, and like um weird flex. I keep saying I watched a ton of Pacers games last year, but I did. And like I know what he can do. I even like him playing alongside Oladipo. It's the same thing. Like I don't think like, oh, just because Oladipo came back and he's playing better doesn't mean that Brogdon becomes less than, because he's really like him and Sabonis, and weirdly like TJ McConnell plus Sabonis are like their main facilitators. Oladipo gets to be more free and just come down, pull up shots, and even try to attack and slash, but Brogdon really is their main facilitator as a guard. And I knew that. And I think, to be honest, I had a little bit of subconscious like fear/hate of him this year
Mm-hmm.
because of that last year.
Mm-hmm.
He got hurt like twice, like right away. That whole league last year was a mess for me because I had Cat also. I had Cat, Capella. Oh wait, no, now I'm mixing 2 leagues, but I had Cat and I think Brogdon in the same league, and they both got hurt
Mm-hmm.
like right away, and we're out for like weeks, and I was like, I hate it here. And then yeah, unfortunately for Scott, he got Cat in our other league, and he might be coming back soon, but he's been out for the last couple of weeks. So given the way the theme, which again I think is very aptly named for your team, I hope there's no more injuries, including Brogdon, because
It'll get ugly quick.
yeah. Is there any more timetable on Porzingis or Jaren Jackson Jr.? Have you heard anything?
I think when the Mavs were on, they were on a national game a couple days ago, I think, and they were saying like Porzingis like should be coming back before the end of January. So really, if he's back at any point of January, I'll be happy with. That's what I'm expecting, which could actually line up with like when Tatum comes back from this thing. So like that would be cool if they could come back at the same time, and not this like weird staggered where like I suck both weeks where like they come back one and I suck that week and then they come back the next and it's like I don't know, something weird could happen. So yeah, but I don't know about Jaren Jackson. I haven't like looked. I probably should.
I haven't heard anything. I have him in my other league, and I thought going into the season they're kind of saying like late January, but now I still haven't heard anything. So maybe hopefully it'll be at least next month. It just sucks because in that league there's only one injury spot.
Mm.
And I drafted him, so he's just been sitting there. So, and I've had multiple people get injured since then, or like get injury tag, which is my last question for you. But with the whole COVID thing, at least they've kind of been doing injury tags, which is nice, but I can't even take advantage of that because I have someone just sitting in injury. Um, oh wait, one last thing before I ask my last question was it's kind of interesting, and this is sad for him, but I tried to trade for Brogdon in my other league, and Fultz was part of my package
Uh,
on the topic of injuries, and so I hope nothing bad happens to Brogdon, but it's kind of interesting that they like got paired up the way I
yeah.
did it. But man, that Fultz injury, that just depressed me. Like that was the same day that the Capitol storming happened. And like not to not to like put them on the same level, but like, that was going on in the backdrop. And then um to obviously I'm bummed as the having him on my fantasy team, but that totally is eclipsed by the fact that just as on a personal level, I felt for the guy because, coming off that crazy disease thing he had and being high prospect and then moving from Philadelphia because they had to move on because they were trying to do a win now thing and you felt bad for him. But then he went to Orlando and you're like, wait, this is like a good fit for them. They need guards, and they made the playoffs both years, the last 2 years, and then now to get hit with this, it's just really sad.
Yeah. I mean, I think everyone at this point is rooting for Fultz because it's like the classic like story where a guy is like comes in with a lot of hype and then he's like not performing. And so people are kind of like, see, I told you he wasn't that good, even though he had a lot of like weird stuff. But like he wasn't good. And so people were like, anyone who was like anti Fultz for some reason was like, see, like I knew he wasn't that good.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're on that point where like he's fallen so far, everyone is rooting for
The
him. There's no
redemption
one,
arc.
yeah, there's no one who's like anti Markel Fultz. Like, I mean, I
Right.
can't imagine. So, and then the Magic's getting off to a good start,
Mm-hmm.
and like he was
It's true.
seemed to be playing well. So it's like, yeah, I'm with you. It when I saw that, it's like sometimes dudes just feel like they're just like cursed in some sense, and you're like, really, like after everything he's been through, and
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine, and now he has this, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, man, like hopefully he can come back from yet another thing.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that bummed me out, and I hope he'll be able to come back to some luck because he was still getting his game together, and it's always hard. Like Scott was like, "Oh, it's way easier to come back from ACL injuries now these days," which is true. But I just worry for him because he's already just injury prone, injury ridden now, and especially at his position, the window's so much tighter. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's so much easier to be like, well, if he still can't get it going, we're going to draft or trade for another point guard plan. Plus, we have Cole Anthony that we're kind of like grooming. And a big part of his game, he's not a good shooter yet. A big part of his game is the quickness factor. And how is that going to be affected by the ACL and rehabbing and coming back to his form and trying to maintain some of that quickness level? That makes it tough too, especially when he's not a good shooter. That can hurt you from, you know, having that space of not driving in. So, but I mean, yeah, I hope that he can return and have a uh good career. It's just was a bummer for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, last question I have for you, and then if you have anything, but I mean, I guess it's not really a question, but like, well, I don't know. How do you feel going forward with this whole just COVID tag thing? It's already starting to happen. You know what I mean? It's not the bubble anymore where you can say like, we've been 155 days, no pause. There's positives. There've been interactions. There've been like whole benches. Like the Sixers dilemma that's going right now. They're basically sidelining everyone out of protection of the Seth Curry possible spreading it.
Mhm.
And they hardly have enough people to field a team today. Um, and thankfully Yahoo is like, it's weird because like I guess if they do list it as like a COVID protocol, they kind of put injury, in which you could do the injury reserve, but that's if you have slots. And it's just like makes it really fluxy, and it's almost kind of like this Russian roulette of like who's gonna get brought down by this. Obviously, you always have that with just like real physical injuries, but it's a lot easier to get randomly COVID traced or COVID protocoled and then miss like 2 weeks. Like I have Michael Porter Jr. and he got hit with like a 7-day quarantine, and then like he probably, being MAGA Porter Jr. that he is, just didn't adhere to the protocols, and they slapped him with 10 more days. And I'm like, bro, I need you, like, just sit in your house and play video games. Like, don't freaking you
Yeah.
know.
It it's I mean, that's the difficult part. And I feel like um you're right. It's not the bubble. And it's much more, it's real life. People go home, they go to the arena, it's not controlled. So
Mhm.
like it's way more in flux. And I get worried on a like an NBA level of like if it snowballs more and it gets to the point where there's like a lot of postponed games, or like
Mhm.
it's a juggling act. Because I remember like when the baseball season was happening, I don't really watch baseball anymore, but like there was a time where like it got pretty bad, and there was like teams that had like significantly fewer games than other teams. Like they just
Mhm.
hadn't played, and there was a while there where people were like, baseball's going to have to shut this down, like it's too bad.
Mhm.
And then they got it worked out and it was fine. But like that's the thing that I fear, where it would get so out of control that they would just shut it down, or have to do something that would pause the season, and that would just suck from our perspective of being like fans and like watching it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and with having so many more games like compared to football, like football they were just like, we don't care, every week you're playing, and like we literally will not stop this no matter what. Like we don't care. I don't like basketball can't really do that, I don't think, because I think there's just fewer games, or there's more games overall. And like yeah, I don't know. It's just I get worried, especially
Mhm.
because it's like our country as a whole, the cases are just not going in the right direction. So like
Right.
if the country is getting worse, it's only going to spread more into like NBA. And then what happens if we hit another situation where we have to pause like we did last year? And I
Yeah.
hope that doesn't happen.
I hope that doesn't happen either. I mean, obviously there are a lot more pressing and important things going on, but I would like to still have basketball as a small place of solace during that. Um, but yeah, it's been tough because just, there's already been a ton of protocols and scares. And I mean, we've already had one whole team have to postpone their game, Houston. And then it seems like from Woj's tweets that Philadelphia really wants to not play their game tonight, but the organization's pushing really hard to do it because they physically have enough guys to play.
Mhm.
Um, but that's not counting Seth Curry, Embiid, and
Yeah.
Ben Simmons. And also, I
Yeah, like
think,
the
yeah.
list of guys I think that they have is almost comical, of like what a squad. Like it's just it's like Simmons, Dwight, and then like randos. Like I don't even know
Well,
who the other
no,
guys are, I don't think.
Simmons got pulled too.
Oh, really?
I got the notification. Yeah,
Oh,
they're listing him as knee swellness, so they're not putting it on like a COVID tag, but they're listing him that way just, I guess, to be safe. Because
mm,
that's what it's kind of sounding like from the Sixer side, is like, because we know Seth is, or it no, I guess I don't know if he's positive, but because he was around people that are positive, based on like the people that he was sitting by proximity wise on the bench, and who he was kind of like hanging around before and after the game. We don't want them to play too, just in case he has it and he gave it to them and they don't know, and we go and play people and go to a different arena or whatever.
yeah.
So, because I saw like Embiid was apparently sitting next to him on the bench the last game, and then they're also like pulling Simmons too, just to be
Mm,
safe. So,
wow. Yeah.
I don't know. If this goes up before tonight's game, might be a good time fantasy fans to pick up Shake Milton going for
Yeah.
60 tonight. Or, but yeah, it's tough because like it's kind of what you're saying and not, or kind of what Scott was saying, because he was like, well, for fantasy, from a fantasy standpoint, obviously, like it was way worse for football because if someone gets COVID flagged, you miss a whole week's production because it's only one game a week. Whereas like basketball,
Yeah.
it's multiple. But at the same time, if you get COVID flagged, you're not out for a day, you're out for like 7 to 10 days, which is still a
Mhm.
whole week's production bleeding into 2 weeks. Like I'm already like I have not had I will not have Porter Jr. play for like a long time. Who knows? He's probably gonna fuck it up again, get slapped with a 25-day. Like that guy is. So it's tough because um it could be anybody. It's most likely going to be high profile guys, and you just don't know who or how, and then you lose them for a week, and there's no like there's no like purgatory slot you could put them to just grab someone for a week. That's what I wish. You know, that's why I put the 2 injury slots, but then you have real injuries. And you can't
Mhm.
keep using them to throw like COVID tag guys for a week to pick someone up just to replace their production, then drop them back on free agency. So yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And I think the downside, because I do like having the two injured slots, I think it really, especially with COVID, like I mean mine are used up, but
Yeah, yeah.
for other people that aren't used that haven't used them, like it'd be nice, your guy goes on 2 week COVID quarantine, you put him in there and pick someone up, and you can kind of get by. But I think the flip side of, like, say we had an extra, like a COVID slot or something where you could only use it for a guy who got COVID flagged. The
Mhm.
downside that, and I kind of experienced this a little during football, is like the waiver wire is just like decimated. Like
Mhm.
there's just nobody available that you want. And so like even if you're like your guy gets hit with COVID and so you put him in your slot and you're like, okay, I'm gonna pick someone up, and then you look and it's like barren, and you're like, okay, well, I mean, I'll grab someone, but like, are they gonna do anything? And so it is kind of nice to have like viable guys on the waiver wire, I guess, is nice. But maybe basketball's a different thing because there's just more guys in general. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a little here, a little there. Obviously, you'd rather have like oh, I can't even think of a good. You'd rather have Kuzma, right, than
Mhm.
nobody.
Mhm.
But not necessarily maybe stoked on. Yeah, our waiver wire is pretty dry now. Same thing with the other league too. But
What are you gonna do?
everyone's making their moves, so I respect that. Anything you want to talk about, or any final thoughts
I
about
don't
things we've been
think so.
talking about?
I think we covered most of what. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else.
Okay. I think I was telling someone this the other day. Your team's the team I'm most scared of at full strength. I know you're not feeling as hot about your team right now, but when your 2 injury reserves come off injury, and as long as your other injury prone guys stay off injury, I think your team is really scary. And like I said, I try to replicate a little bit of your draft in my other league, and it's something I hope I can do in our league next year. I really like that 40 40 40, like good value guys, and then try to get some like really nice guys for low cost, because some of your guys are really really strong. Um, so yeah, hang in there. I think your team is going to be good. You're just going to have to take your lumps in the first week and um, maybe look deceptively not as good as you really are. But once those guys come off injury and you start playing again, it's gonna be tough. I don't know when I play you. I hope I play you soon because I don't want Jaren Jackson Jr. and Porzingis to not be playing when
Yeah.
I play you for the first time.
Yeah, I think next week, whoever I play next week is they're gonna get me because it's those injuries that I already have, and then not having Tatum is gonna really,
Right.
really kill me. Unless Marcus Smart is like, I got this, I'm taking over. So who knows?
Yeah, I have Tatum in my other league too. I just saw that this morning. I was like,
That
well,
was rough.
okay. Okay. Michael Porter Jr., Jaren Jackson Jr., Jason Tatum, just go ahead and put you in a bin, take you out, and then like the next week or so. And then Christian Wood scared me. He like didn't play one game, and then he was game time decision, and then he ended up playing on Friday. But it was like kind of like knee soreness. I think I remember when I watched him like kind of hit knees and go down hard, and he came up like hobbling a little bit. So hopefully he's fine. But yeah, that other league for me has kind of been like your league here, where I've kind of been hit with some injuries. Um, and just kind of had to wait and try to get by for my team to go to full strength. Hopefully, I can pull out the week in the other league because I think I'm currently leading. But now my team looks a little bit watered down for the coming moments. Well, it's good talking to you, G. I'm glad that you made it back
Thank you.
safely. But yeah, I think we covered a lot for the first 3 weeks. Now it's just kind of turned into just how who gets to play, I think, in
Mhm.
terms of the COVID protocols and everything, and hopefully no one else gets seriously injured. And then but yeah, we'll just come back and check in at some point. Hopefully we'll have Scott too.
All right. Yeah, that sounds
Okay.
good. It's always fun to recap it.
Yeah. We'll see you at the top of the standings
Hopefully.
next month. Well, February is going to be your month. That it's going to be your month, I think. And you'll have some catch up to do, but I think you're going to start smashing people. Um,
I just got to hang in there. That's my goal. Just hang in.
yeah,
So,
nothing brash, but just don't get too sad because I think your
yes.
team is solid. Um, and then maybe if you can, and that's what everyone's looking for now. Really, I think they're realizing what you said is like I need that kind of just double big
Yep.
that maybe doesn't jump off the page, but reliably can give me 10 and 10, so I can compete in the rebounds category and then like join the double doubles category because some people I think feel like they aren't participating in that category yet just based off who they have.
Yep. This
So
is the first week I feel like I have a chance. The past two, I'm like, it's done. I think I might
yeah.
be up by one right now. Ugh. But yeah. Thanks for having me on again.
Yeah,
It's
it's
really
fun.
fun. So I like it.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Have a good rest of your day.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Bye,
All right.
G.
See you, Harry.
See ya.